the Trump's truth post yesterday claiming a 5-day pause of US strikes on Iranian energy targets. And we have to note that this comes 36 hours later, his massive threat on Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. What does it show? Because before, Trump has claimed that he has won the war and he doesn't want to talk to anyone. But now what we see is contradicting to all these statements.
Yeah.
So is Trump making a climb down? Is he making a U-turn?
I think so. I think he made a U-turn yesterday, 23rd of March, 2026. Trump has been trying to make, trying to claim victory over the last weeks, over the last week. Several times he said that we won, we deleted Iran, we blew apart Iran, we destroyed their military.
Right.
And he also posted just 3 days ago that the United States was completing its objectives in Iran. He said he had destroyed Iran's air force, he had destroyed Iran's navy, he had destroyed Iran's missile capabilities,
Right.
and he was protecting his Arab allies, and he was also protecting Israel, and
Right.
then he had already made sure that Iran would never make the bomb, etc., etc. And then he said we were wrapping up the war, right? And he also said in a press conference, he said that he was not interested in talking to anybody in Iran because we are winning the war
Right.
and they are being hammered, and why
Right.
should I talk to them when they are being hammered? And then he issued this threat. He said, from now on, within 48 hours, if you don't open the Strait of Hormuz, I'm going to obliterate your power plants.
Right.
And this is also not the first threat.
Yeah.
You look at Trump's statements from February 28, the day the United States and Israel launched this war. Trump had asked Iran 2 weeks ago to open the Strait of Hormuz
Right.
or face 20 times harder strikes.
Right.
And Strait of Hormuz still remains shut.
Shut.
Right? So, see, throughout the war, Trump had issued these threats, and every time Trump issued these threats, Iran was actually out-escalating him.
Right.
So I think we have to look at Trump's statement against this perspective, against this context. And then Trump made his comment, and what was Iran's response?
Right.
So it was interesting that Iran made it was a two-pronged response. Foreign Minister Arakchi had said that Strait of Hormuz is not closed. What he was actually trying to tell the world was that, okay, we have taken control of the strait. We haven't militarily shut it. So which means you deal with me, you deal with us, so we will let the ships pass. And a lot of countries are actually individually, bilaterally dealing with the Iranians. You ask the Indians,
Right.
right? We are doing that.
Right. That's
Foreign Minister Jaishankar talked to them. The Prime Minister Modi himself talked to the Iranian president. So the Indians are trying to do this. The Japanese are trying to do this. This is an American ally I'm talking about in the Pacific. And the Europeans are talking to the Iranians. So that's what Arakchi is saying. Arakchi says, okay, we haven't closed it, but we have taken control of it. So we decide which ship passes through. So you deal with us.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then secondly, you look at the Iranian military's response, whether it is the central headquarters or the IRGC. They say that if our power plants are attacked, and we are going to attack all the power infrastructure in the Persian Gulf region as well as in Israel,
Right.
and we are also going to attack American companies in the region. So the military spokesperson had said that we will target all the American economic interests in the Persian Gulf region if the power plants are attacked.
Right.
See, this is what we call, students of IR call, Iran is operating in a target-rich region. When the Iranians look at the Persian Gulf, across the Gulf, whatever they see could be a target in an escalating conflict.
Right.
When the Israelis attacked the South Pars gas field on March 18th, 2026, how did the Iranians respond?
Right.
Maybe the Israelis thought that this would force the Iranians into submission,
Yeah.
but no. How did they respond was that they targeted the world's largest gas facility in Qatar. They targeted an oil refinery in Kuwait. They targeted a refinery and an oil field in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And they targeted a refinery in the outskirts of Riyadh. And they targeted the Haifa refinery in Israel. So the Iranian response was that, like Ghalibaf himself had said, an eye for an eye. If you hit the power infrastructure, we are going to hit back the power infrastructure.
Right.
So I think Trump had issued the threat. But then he also realized that if he had carried out that kind of a massive attack on Iranian power infrastructure, the Iranians would retaliate, and that will cause catastrophic effect on both the regional economy as well as the global economy.
Right.
So my sense is that Trump had blinked first.
Trump in the same post claimed that he had productive talks.
Yeah.
Who would be the possible person he would have talked to, like the top person?
Yeah.
Also, you said this is not the first time Trump has threatened. But
Yeah.
every time like even Trump has threatened them, Iran has never seems to be threatened by these. Instead, they are retaliating more powerfully.
That's
So
correct.
how do you look at this?
To answer the first question, first of all, I mean, I don't know whether we can take Trump literally. Okay, one has to listen to him. He is the president of the United States. So when Trump says that we had productive talks, etc., and on the other side, when the Iranians say no, there are no talks at all.
Yeah.
So I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Right.
So see, it is possible to imagine that there were some kind of indirect contacts between the Iranians and the Americans. It's possible. I'm not saying it was there. For example, if you look at the Oman foreign minister's tweet yesterday, last evening, he said in unmistakable terms that this is not a war that Iran chose. So he said this is a war that was imposed on Iran. And Oman is the country that mediated between the Americans and the Iranians. And he said Oman would continue its efforts to bring in peace. So he was indirectly signaling that he was kind of in touch. The Omanis are kind of in touch with both sides. That's one thing. And then you had reports in Bloomberg and Financial Times suggesting that the Pakistanis, the Egyptians, they were also playing a part in it. In a sense, they were exchanging messages between the two sides.
Right.
So I think it's possible. It's possible that messages were exchanged, but I don't think that it necessarily means that there were productive talks between both sides. We don't know. And it's also, there is a very interesting, way of looking at Trump's statement, because before the war began on February 28th, they had multiple rounds of talks between the Americans and the Israelis, right? The first round was in Muscat, and then there were 3 rounds, if I am not mistaken, in Geneva, which were also held under Oman's mediation. And those days, okay, we at the Hindu, we were following these developments very closely, right? We were writing it, covering it. So after each talk, it was Arakchi who would come to the press and tell the world that, okay, we had excellent talks and we had a framework agreement. So there is a possibility for a deal. So always the Iranians were saying that. Or the Omanis would say that talks were excellent. Both sides exchanged their views. There is a possibility for a deal.
Even
and it's very
last time
interesting.
they said they are almost
there.
there.
The Omani said that a deal was within reach. Arakchi had said that a framework was agreed.
Right.
But it's very interesting that this time it was Donald Trump who says that we had productive talks, whereas the Iranians say, hello, excuse me, we don't have any talks with you.
It was all fake.
Yeah, it's fake news. So that's very interesting. So the table has turned. I mean, 25 days into the war, the Americans are now saying that we are having talks with the Iranians, and we had made Trump even said that we had points of agreement.
Right. 15 points of agreement,
15 points of agreement, whereas the Iranians say nothing of that sort is happening.
So basically, Trump miscalculated this war.
Yeah, from the very beginning, yes. That's very evident.
Right.
I mean, to answer your specific question, that I think, it's possible that there were some kind of, messages were exchanged between these two, but I don't know whether these were productive talks. I think that Trump is hyping it up to sell it as an excuse to the Americans that, why he is taking a U-turn, right? That's one thing. And who could be the possible person the Americans are talking to or they would be interested in talking to? I think it could be Ghalibaf, the Iranian parliament speaker. Because if you look at Iran's power structure, before the war, there were 3 very influential figures in Iran's politics. Okay, you keep the president and the foreign minister away. The president is a very important figure, there is no doubt about it. But the president at this point of time, I think, is focused on running the country, running the economy, because this is a wartime economy. And the foreign minister's focus is to basically sell the Iranian version to the world. And I think he is doing it very well, Abbas Arakchi. But the 3 heavyweights in the system were Ali Larijani, of course, Shamkhani, and Ghalibaf. I think Shamkhani was killed on February 28th. There were reports that Shamkhani was killed. Even the Iranian media reported that, even though there is no official confirmation about it. But, I mean, Shamkhani is not seen, hasn't been seen ever since the war broke out. I think Shamkhani was dead on February 28th. Ali Larijani was killed on March 17th by the Israelis.
Okay.
So Ghalibaf is the only remaining of the trio. And Ghalibaf keeps, basically he is the one, after Dimona was hit, it was Ghalibaf who announced that now Iran is going to step up the retaliation.
Right.
So he is a former military figure who has very close ties with the IRGC. He's also the Speaker of the Parliament. He was very close to Ali Khamenei. The assassinated Khamenei, the former supreme leader. So Ghalibaf is a heavyweight. So Ghalibaf could be the potential person the Americans would be interested in talking to.
Right.
And you also asked about Iran's retaliation. Yeah. Just to touch base on that. Yes, we've been talking about it, right? We did 2-3 episodes already discussing Iran. And I have been mentioning this. From the first week of the war, the Americans and the Israelis were saying that we had knocked out 85% of Iran's missile capacity. We destroyed most of their missile launchers. We destroyed this, we destroyed that. But on day 25th, they launched the 71st barrage of missiles at both the American bases in the Persian Gulf as well as the Israelis. So what they claimed, I think, doesn't align with what the Iranians are doing, right? There is clearly a disconnect with that. So my advice always is that it's better to look at what the Iranians and the Americans or the Israelis are doing to understand the trajectory of the war rather than what each side is claiming.
Right.
So if you look at the Iranian response, at every stage of the war, when the Americans were trying to escalate the conflict or when the Israelis were trying to escalate the conflict, the Iranians were out-escalating them. March 13th, Kharga Island was hit.
Yeah.
The Iranians retaliated by targeting American bases across the region. March 17th, Larijani was killed. And March 18th, South Pars was attacked. The Iranians retaliated by attacking gas and oil refineries across the region. And then the United States threatened to attack their power plants. The Iranians counter-threatened, saying that we are going to take out all the power infrastructure. And the Israelis attacked Natanz nuclear facility. On the same evening, the Iranians hit back, targeting Dimona, Israel's nuclear city. So, what does it tell us? It doesn't tell us, Iran is not behaving like a country that is running out of its attack capability, right? Iran is behaving like a country that still possesses attack capabilities. So I think it's important to look at what the countries are doing to understand the trajectory of the war rather than just taking what the leaders are saying.